Welcome to Livingston, our podcast where we invite local businesses, people, and organizations to talk about what they are giving to our community.
As real estate professionals with the Putkella Group, we bring valuable insight into the local market and community every week.
Thanks for listening,
and
welcome to Livingston. Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Welcome to Livingston podcast. My name is Don Putkella.
And I'm Angela Putkella, and we're with the Putkella Group Real Estate Professionals. And this podcast has been brought to you by Jim Paquette at Lake Michigan Credit Union. We really appreciate their support.
No, we definitely appreciate their support. You know, he was a great resource even over this weekend when we were working with a client. So it's just nice to be able to reach out and know that someone's going to answer the phone on the weekend and collaborate with us.
Yeah, great people over there for sure. So we're coming off of Mother's Day. Father's Day is right around the corner. And that kind of got me thinking about parenting. And I had caught up with a friend of one of our clients, who's of course a friend as well too. And her son just turned 1 year old. And that really got me in that parenting space.
Yeah, and we don't have any guests with us today. It's just the two of us.
Yes, this is true. Normally, we interview a lot of the small businesses and causes and events in the county. And unfortunately, we had a cancellation, so we were kind of trying to come up with some ideas for
Right,
today.
yeah, but surprisingly, we have a number of clients right now that have children between the ages of 0 and 2.
Yes.
like it seems that every time we're going out lately, it's someone with a bucket basket, with a baby, or we've had a couple clients that have had children in the last 2-3 months.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know how many we have that are celebrating their first or second Mother's Day this year.
That's true. But it's been so exciting because, in a lot of cases, we help them pick out the house, and then here now their family's expanding. And
yes.
So it's just such a pleasure being part of people's lives.
Exactly. But it did get you thinking about the whole parenting thing, right?
Yeah. So today's topic is going to be parenting in Livingston County. So we're still going to kind of keep some of the Livingston County flair, of course, but, really kind of digging into parenting,
Yeah, I think it's a nice topic because it hits both things. We did raise 3 kids here in Livingston County.
We did.
We've been here since 2002. So a long time residents of Livingston County.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you think about the difference of when you were growing up versus now, and then putting yourself in that different role of now you're the parent.
Right. Absolutely. So makes it kind of fun. But I thought that maybe we could start with those little ones, since you mentioned that kind of 0 to 2 and kind of little babies. And we have 3 kids ourselves. One's in college, 2 are in high school. So it's been a little while. I had to dust off some of those cobwebs
There you
to
go.
sort of think back. But I remember there were so many great things that we did with the kids or learned that, would love to share. One of the things that was kind of cool, I didn't do it with the first one, didn't have time for the third one, but our middle guy, when he was little, I ended up making homemade baby food.
Yes, you took up gardening on a different level for a couple of years there.
Yeah, I was the best gardener I ever was.
I had to create a few garden beds out back, and you were planting and doing all of those things.
Yeah, that was really, really fun. And so with the things from my own garden, I was able to make some homemade baby food. But then also in terms of the local farmers markets, that's something that there's fresh produce, fresh vegetables, fresh items.
Now, why did you want to do the homemade baby food, since we're talking about it?
Well, I think we were pretty cost conscious at the time. I think because of how much baby food costs, and especially as your child, is getting to maybe that 1 year old range, and they're eating more and they're doing more and they want new flavors, but they're still in that baby food zone. I couldn't get over how much it cost.
Right. And I think you enjoyed it as well, though. There's something to say for the health benefits of growing your own food and having the organic, right?
Yeah. For sure. But so what I would do is I would take the vegetables, I'd put it in the food processor, I'd mince it up, and then have those old timey ice cube trays. You can order it from someplace, I'm sure, pick it up at the store, or you might even have it just sitting around in your cupboard. But, certainly at garage sales, I often see those sitting around. But so just a good old-fashioned ice cube tray, and then that's what I would pour in this mixture. So whether it was like, okay, doing the carrots, usually kind of cook it up so that way they were soft, mince it up, make sure it's all natural, because to your point, you don't always know what's inside of things too. So that did make me feel very happy with it. But anyway, so we'd put it in the ice cube trays, freeze it up, and then I'd be able to let it sit out and thaw, or warm it up a little bit and so forth. But here it was food that I had made, that I knew where it came from. It was healthy, it was natural, and it was so much more affordable.
Well, there's that. But even outside of the affordability, it is a great thing. And we do have a lot of great resources in Livingston County.
Yes.
We had Spicer's Orchard on, which does all these U-picks. What a great thing if you have like little ones, or you're looking to make baby food, to go up there and be able to, pick raspberries, pick cherries, pick
well,
those
and
things.
on the baby food, probably the blueberries would be
the blueberries would be your better bet.
Yeah, check. And there was a lot of support online as I did it, and I'm sure there's a lot more now. But that's something that it seemed like a much more difficult thing when I first was embarking on it than it really ended up being. It was very enjoyable, and to this day, of our kids, that's the one kid that is the least picky.
Food.
It might be just a coincidence, but
right.
I like to think maybe that was part of it.
Exactly, yeah.
Another thing in terms of while the kids are really little that I wanted to make sure to touch on was baby signs, and how much of a difference that made for our kids for, being able to communicate at a young age. So just in terms of more or all done, when they're still too little to...
Milk.
Yep. Drink. Some of just those basic ones. There's not... Right.
Well, the fact that like when you catch our kids someplace and you want them to say thank you to somebody, you sign thank you to them, and they'll catch it.
Yes. It's interesting because people don't, for the most part, know the sign for thank you. And so that reminds them when they should be saying thank you. So
yes.
But it definitely comes in handy. And the neat part is, like, over at Brighton High School, they have American Sign Language as one of the languages you can take. So I think that there's some great benefit to that. When the kids were really young and I was doing this with our kids, my mom was just so appalled, and she said, hey, then your children will never end up talking because they'll be too busy signing. And the opposite happened, because realistically, they understood the kind of the purpose of language.
Right. Well, the thing is, and there's studies on it, that like you're opening up neural pathways. So like you're making more connections, which is a great thing. And I really like that. And then the other nice thing is, when you're mentioning the baby signs. So back when we did it, we had some DVDs and we had some CDs, and we had, nowadays I'm sure there's an app where you're just, keying up YouTube to look at the stuff. But I was amazed at the different resources out there and the different things of it. It was so nice to be able to put something on that, was fun for a toddler, but they were learning as well.
But baby signs really were good. It was, a really, good thing that helped our children develop in terms of language, and they spoke early and they understood more, and really I swear by that. So it was really good. Another thing was books and music, that we really had that at a young age for the kids, to the point where I do remember bringing them into Borders, which of course is no longer
Borders. Borders had an amazing children's department. They had a storytime lady there.
Yeah.
That they did a lot of
Peggy, the storytime lady.
They did a lot of activities over there.
Yeah.
Which, but on that, we have some amazing, Two Dandelions is an amazing bookstore. The local libraries, which we did utilize when they were younger, right? Mm-hmm. Mainly the Howell Library at that time, but the Brighton Library as well. But the local libraries in the communities in Livingston County, as parents, you would be amazed at the programs that they have for your young toddlers up through to just encourage that love of reading. But one of the things that I found out of those things is just the interaction with other kids, right? Learning in a group environment.
Yeah. No, that's a positive thing. So yeah, so just in terms of all that development and so forth. One thing I also want to touch on is naming, by the way. So talking about babies, talking about whatnot, I looked up, I couldn't find for Livingston County, but at least for southeastern Michigan, courtesy of Click on Detroit, as of the end of last year, just in case anyone was curious, for all of southeastern Michigan, the number one boy name is Theodore, and the number one girl name is Charlotte.
That's interesting.
So yeah, it's a little sub there.
More traditional names.
Yeah.
Like the namings go through cycles, right?
Yeah.
You know, and one of the funny things I would say with all three of our kids is when you're picking out a name, you don't think it's popular. And then like 6-7 years later, you're like, how did that name get popular? I thought I was unique here.
Right. Yeah. I remember for our daughter in like some of her classes in elementary, there was a couple of different Evelyns.
Well, so. Evelyn is in the top 10 now.
Yeah, it has been ever since. For the record, when we named her that, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But that said, for our oldest, one thing that, in terms of piece of advice for ladies that are expecting that, they're trying to decide on a name and so forth. One thing that we did for him that really worked, that was awesome, is we were sitting at our kitchen table and I had this idea one day. I was like, hey, once he's born, once he's older, we're going to call him for dinner. We're going to, call him for any number of reasons and ideas. And how about we just practice? So we took the 3 names that we were thinking about with him, and I'll be damned if the name Harrison just didn't fit and work. And when I called out Harrison, like I was, calling him to come downstairs, and it felt so natural.
Felt comfortable for you.
Yes. Yep. And for you too, in terms of as you heard it, like we looked at each other and it was like, wow. So that's something that, if somebody's thinking about a name, they're not sure, that's a cool way to just try it out,
It is, yeah.
You're going to spend a lifetime calling it out.
Yeah, that's very true.
But cool. So as the little ones got older, probably one of the things is, especially since we have a senior now, we're reflecting a lot on raising our kids. And
yes.
But one of the best things that we think that we ever did.
So one of the best things we thought we did was we sent all of our 3 kids to Montessori. When you have young children, a lot of people, they, if parents are working, you're thinking about daycare, right?
Mm-hmm.
So usually I would say one of the big advice is go visit a number of places.
Right. Even for those that aren't, as they get older, you start thinking about preschool.
Yes. Yeah. So you're doing preschool, you're doing daycare. I know the schools around here have like the, the young fives or the different things that you can go through. Mm-hmm. But what we picked was we went to a number of different places, right?
Yeah.
And when we went to the Montessori that we ended up with, we both got out of it was funny.
Yeah.
Do you want to share it?
Oh, yeah. So we pretty much interviewed the woman that owned the place. And her message resonated with me so much. And we pretty much decided we were sending Harrison to someplace else. And we were just, checking on this one anyway. And I was thinking the whole time of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get in the car and how am I going to break it to Don that he has to go here. It's non-negotiable. I've just kind of decided this is what I need. And at the same time, you were thinking the same thing.
I was thinking the same thing, yeah. So, but what I would have to say is for parents out there, Montessori has the most amazing long-term benefits. You'll notice it when they're, in Montessori, they're going to learn like skills.
Yeah. What is Montessori? What makes it different?
What makes different is it's directed by the child. They're picking the activities they're working on, but all of the things they're doing, they're learning within them, right? They're very structured activities in terms of, they're learning coordination, they're learning sorting skills, they're learning language skills, they're learning group interaction skills, but they're learning how to exist within that environment within themselves, right? Mm-hmm. So they're learning like very valuable self-directing skills, very valuable interaction skills, how to advocate for themselves, how to, and the thing is, we noticed it when they were 3 and 4,
Right.
but when they hit kindergarten
Yeah.
is when we really started to notice it, right?
Yeah.
And the confidence that comes from the Montessori style system.
Almost like being able to communicate and be
Yes.
able to understand, what's needed, what's called for,
Right. But
I'm not in that education space, so
no, we should
probably doing it a disservice.
No, we should interview a Montessori at some point here and have them on the show. But what I would say is there's a lot of great educational opportunities for your child before they hit school age.
Yes.
And there's a ton of great places in Livingston County. And I would say anything you can do at that 2, 3, 4, 5 to prep them for when they actually start in kindergarten
Right.
is extremely beneficial. And, we did a lot of those things, right? Even outside of Montessori.
That's true.
But I would say that if you're hitting on advice for parents, think about that education early because it really makes an impact. I'm still seeing the impact of my 21-year-old,
Yeah.
of starting that early.
That's true.
Yeah.
My niece and nephew were pretty much the same age as our kids, and to be able to see the differences was really remarkable. And even in terms amongst their peers, what I found with all 3 of our kids is they were able to communicate better, both to the teachers, the other students, to us.
Yeah.
And a lot of the kids did have some educational background. They came in understanding the ABCs, some learning to read. There are some great schools around in the area, preschools, et cetera. But there was something about the Montessori that I like better in terms of the coping skills.
Yeah, and I was thinking the same thing. There's an emotional education, I would say, almost.
Yeah, maybe.
But I would say it's impactful.
Yeah, because there's ups and downs, but that can be more frustrating to some kids than others. And the more tools you can give them, the better.
Well, I think it's all about tools, right?
Yeah.
As parents, we help our kids live their lives through our eyes, within their eyes, right?
Yeah.
And finding that way of how do I help without doing it myself,
Right.
right?
And that's the hardest thing about being a
when
parent.
they're 2, 3, 4, you find that you're doing it all yourself while you should be letting them, it's like
It's so hard to do.
It's the whole riding a bike thing.
Yeah.
Right? You can only teach someone so much how to ride a bike. They have to do it for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And it's that whole you have to be able to walk before you run, but when you're learning that, you're gonna fall down, and that's okay.
Right.
Right? And that's tough as a parent.
That makes sense. Well, I think we're ready to move on to more of the lightning round.
Yes.
Okay. So we wanted to touch on some of our best and favorite Livingston County memories with our kids and some of the things that we did that are available and that are out there, like the parks. There's so many wonderful parks here in Livingston County.
Yes. No, I love the Imagination Station.
Yeah.
As a parent, one of the things I love about the Imagination Station is it has a wall all the way around it.
Yes.
And when you have your kid running through all over the place, it's nice to know that they're in an enclosed area,
Right.
and they can't get out of it, because anyone who's listening that has a kid over the age of 5 or 6 has lost their kid someplace at some point where you haven't lost them, but you don't see them for like that split second,
Right.
and that fear that jumps up in you.
Exactly. Yes. So that's over downtown Brighton. A lot of it is all made of wood, but
They take
easy
care
to
of it.
climb, and yeah.
You're not,
Really pretty.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
So, but then certainly, we took our kids to the local elementary parks, and in terms of the off hours, right?
Yes.
So when the school was not in session, on the weekend or something, those are always really nice. Our kids were older when it was created, but over at Genoa Park, that's an outstanding park. Boy, our kids would have loved that.
Yeah, no, that would have been amazing back when Harrison was doing flag football there.
Oh, yeah.
For the younger ones to have had that park to go
Right.
over to.
Right. Yeah. So, maybe a park in general always existed because that's where they played the football. But here now it's really
No, they
top-end
have a
climbing
play
stuff.
structure there now.
Yeah, it's great. And it was 2 years of Senior Survivor raised money for that.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of other fundraisers.
Well, and the other thing is that is fully like good for people with special needs and difficulties in terms of walking or other things. Like I haven't really been to it, but I know that when they built it specifically so it was like more inclusive.
Right.
So like, of all different levels are able to interact with it and really enjoy it.
Well, and I like that it's really different. It has a lot of less traditional types of, climbing activity things and so forth. So that's something that's pretty cool. Yeah. The festivals were always so great.
Well, and when you mentioned the festivals, you had just mentioned climbing.
Yeah.
So I connected the two, and they still do it downtown and that. Do you want to share with our daughter in the climbing?
Okay. So one year at Melon Fest, they had a blow up rock climbing wall, basically, that was probably what?
It was probably 3 stories tall.
Yeah, it was super tall. And when we went down there, that day happened to be on our daughter's birthday. Golly, I wish I could remember. Was it maybe her 5th birthday? So, of course, since it was her 5th birthday, we had to wear the hot pink ball gown with all kinds of crinoline, and that was what she insisted on wearing.
It was an Aurora
yeah,
ball gown.
Something like that, yes. But here she was. Her brothers tried climbing. They could only get so high up, because of course they're a little heavier, but she's light as can be, and she just toop all the way up. And they of course had the security stuff, to keep the kids strapped in so they couldn't fall down. But it was remarkable just to see and how empowered that made her feel. But there was just so many different activities and fun things to do. It's every year in August, kind of mid to late August, and that's in downtown Howell. A lot of fun things. Our kids never did the melon rolling, where you had the little kids and they're rolling the melons down the street.
I've been watching that the last few years.
Yeah.
We've been there for that.
Oh, that's so cute. So cute.
But what I would say is that they do a really good job in Livingston County of having activities for young families.
Yes.
People with young kids, right? And when you don't have kids, you tend to, there's so much stimuli hitting you every day that a lot of times we don't notice the things that we don't need right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't have kids, so I don't really notice that that's going on, right?
Yeah.
But know that there are so many great activities and so many great things in the county. One of the things that I have great memories of is the fact that Home Depot has the craft days, like once a month, that we would go in and, they'd build a birdhouse, or they'd, all these different little things that they would build and do that they would bring home and they'd be so happy about. Because when you have young kids, a lot of times you're looking for activities, right?
Yeah.
And when before we were in real estate, I was a teacher, right? Which meant I had summers off, which meant I was the dad with the kids. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do today?
Mr. Mom.
Like, okay, we're going to go have a picnic at the courthouse,
Yeah.
Oh, that took, 20 minutes. So now I have 10 hours left of the day. What am I going to do next?
Yeah.
Right. And it's all these great activities that you're able to get involved in, you're able to find because you want to do those things.
Right. That there is a lot out there and more popping up all the time.
Yeah.
And I think, on Facebook and some of these other places, there's more places to find out about them too.
Yes, exactly. Today's episode of the Welcome to Livingston podcast is brought to you by our valued sponsor, Jim Paquette with Lake Michigan Credit Union. He is a trusted mortgage lender who has lived and worked in our community for many years. Jim Paquette is dedicated to helping our neighbors achieve their homeownership dreams and is proud to support the local businesses that make our area special. Now let's dive back into the stories of the incredible entrepreneurs we are featuring today. I saw you had on here swim lessons. Did you want to click on that a little bit? Because I know you did that as well.
Oh, yeah. That was so much fun to do with the kids at a young age. I think that helped them be less fearful of the water and able to swim better, swim more. But, there's a lot available out there. But there's even a lot of just fun events. I remember, I think over at the Howell pool that they would do the, almost like an egg hunt underwater.
Yeah, no, they
Every
they,
Easter
they had
time.
like all these floating eggs, but then eggs at the bottom of the pool and everything. Like,
Yeah, so it was kind of
not
cool.
real eggs,
Yes,
plastic
yes, this
eggs.
is true. Yeah, plastic eggs, but in terms of having those swim lessons, that especially when the child was probably 2 to maybe 3, like really little, that is something that you did with them. It would be with your parent. And I just remember motorboat go so slow, motorboat go so fast, motorboat step on the gas. And you're spinning around with the kid as they're giggling and making them just feel comfortable in the water. And I remember that was something that was fun to do, neat to do. And especially it wasn't in the summertime usually, like we would do it more the off season for things.
Right.
Once a week, go in, and that was really a fun activity that the kids would look forward to.
No, yes. Yeah. No, they have there's a lot of great things. What I would say for parents out there is get as involved as possible.
Yeah.
I think that it's a huge benefit as they get older, the more involved you are in elementary and middle school. I know me and you have sat down and talked about the fact that by volunteering in the classrooms and chaperoning on the field trips and everything else, we all remember that the kids that you are close to in elementary usually aren't the kids you're close to in high school, right?
Right.
So as your kids age, they go through different friend groups, right?
Yeah. Sometimes they find their way back.
Sometimes find the way back. But what I would say is if you're volunteering in the classroom, if you're going on field trips and everything, you have a better appreciation for who these people are that they come home and mention.
Yes.
Right? That you might know that person, right? Yeah. So it gives you a better context and you feel a little bit more comfortable. I know you've talked about going to DC.
Right. So one of my favorite things in that light was volunteering to be one of the chaperones for the Washington, D.C. trip in 8th grade for our middle son, Colin. And some of his friends that he's friends with now to this day had been in my group. I've had a chance to spend time with, to talk to. They know me. They respect me. I have their phone numbers in my phone from when they were in my group. So it made high school a lot easier. I want to go to so-and-so's house. Like, okay. Even in terms of having met the parents, right? Because that's one of the harder parts as they get older and they're in high school and they make new friends. Well, they're driving now. And so here's this new friend that A, you may or may not have ever met, but B, you sure as heck don't know the parents, right?
Right.
So as many parents as you can meet and connect with and have contact information for in elementary school, because that's when it's, socially appropriate.
Right, exactly.
Right? Makes those middle school and high school years much, much easier,
Right.
Especially even in terms of any number of things. If you notice something, on social media or whatever, or trying to connect with somebody as you get to know these other kids better, maybe there's some kids that you think are a more positive influence on your child than others, right? Later on, that gets much harder to have influence on, but whatever you're able to do, and how are you supposed to know if they're a positive influence or not? Well, by being involved.
And, my PSA for the show, so we were very involved in elementary.
Yes.
To the point that, we almost got burned out.
I think we did get burned out.
I think we did.
That's okay.
Yes.
That's fair to say.
Yes, yeah. But so number one, so we were, I was a den leader. I was a Cub Scout master. You were in the PTA. PTO, sorry.
On the board.
On the board.
Yeah.
But, we were volunteering. I coached multiple different sports.
Yes.
But my PSA is, as a parent, if you don't want to coach the team, don't show up to the parent meeting.
See, somebody needs to coach the team, though. Otherwise, they won't have it.
No, but
be prepared.
Be prepared. I think it's great. I love the experience of coaching soccer and t-ball and being on the Cub Scouts and the den leader and all that kind of stuff. I love doing it, right? But when I went to the meeting, I didn't think I was going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much the first meeting.
Right.
After that, make sure to go to all the
Make sure to go to all of them.
But it was good to know. And those were all activities that we met the parents and the kids through too.
Right.
So anything that you can do.
Yeah, but I remember coming home from the T-ball meeting, and I was co-coaching with another parent, right?
Yeah.
And coming home and be like, honey, I'm the assistant coach for baseball.
How did that happen?
But I think that, while I joke about that, I think that was one of the more beneficial things that I've been able to do as a parent of being involved. And again, now that when they're in high school, I know other parents.
Yeah.
I was involved in these activities. It's those shared experiences.
Tell you, even though you might not recognize them, a lot of those kids still remember having you as their coach.
Right.
And it speaks volumes. And just in terms of level of respect and familiarity, and it's all really positive, because as they become teenagers, it does get harder, and it's a whole different type of parenting. That's probably a whole different topic on another day. But you can, and as I touch on, in terms of preparing for middle schoolers and for high schoolers and whatnot, you can be more prepared. There's things you can do as they're young, and getting involved, number one.
Well, I think getting involved is number one. I know you have on here volunteering with the kids.
Yes.
I think that is a huge benefit, that if you do it early, then they understand the benefit of it when they get older. Right?
Right.
So like when your kids hit high school, if they're doing good in classes and everything, they're going to join the National Honor Society. When they join the National Honor Society, there's a requirement of a certain number of volunteer hours. And it's different for different districts and what age you get involved in it. And some places have Junior National Honor Society, which you're doing it in middle school. But a key component of that is volunteering.
Yes.
Right. And if you've
interact, and a lot of those things are into volunteering too.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're doing that at an early age, then when they get into middle school and high school, it's something that they're used to. And now they're able to reach out and pull their friends into doing it, because it's not as big a jump for them.
Right. They're comfortable with the idea of giving back.
Right. So what are some of the things we volunteered with the kids in the county that's available?
One of our favorite memories, I don't know why we just did it the once, but we had a friend, I think, that was running the duck run. And so we manned a water station and so that would have been downtown Brighton. They usually do the duck run around 4th of July.
Around 4th of July, yeah.
And so here we had a table full of, all this, I think it was water or Gatorade or something, and we'd hand it to the runners, and the kids were so little. They were probably like maybe 4, 7, and 10.
Yeah.
And they just had so much fun, and we had fun with them. And I think the runners that came by that had these little kids.
Well, what was the cutest thing they did is, after a while, when it started to thin out a little bit, they would grab the cup of water, and instead of waiting for the runner to come to them, they would run to the runner to hand them the cup of water, which I thought was very cute. But the nice thing is there's a lot of these 5K runs nowadays. There's the Sleepy Hollow 5K. There's a Melon Fest 5K. There's some triathlons that are at Kensington and Island Lake.
The Running Fit people, would know a lot of different runs.
These organizations, every organization out there is just looking for volunteers. We had Bountiful Harvest on, right? They need volunteers, right? Gleaners needs volunteers. The Red Cross needs volunteers. There's so many different things out there that come time when your kids get in high school, all of a sudden you start thinking in a different way. You're like, you need all these activities so that you can put them on your application. Right? Yeah. But when you start early, then all of a sudden it's not something that they're doing to put on the college application. It's part of who they are.
Yes.
And
that's
as a
why
parent,
doing it when they're young.
get to help create that.
Yeah. Because they're watching you. If you don't volunteer, but you're going to want them to, well, guess what the easiest way to do that is? To start getting involved yourself.
Right. Well, and one of the things I will say is, remember, it's not so much what you say to your kids and how they learn. It's what you do. So they're learning by watching you, and they're learning at 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yes,
5 years old.
very young ages.
When they see how you greet someone else, then they model that,
Yeah.
right? When they see that you care, they care. So it's not only how you interact with your kid, it's how you interact with other people when your kids are there.
Yes.
And that's what I think matters the most, of like just who you are as a person is going to rub off on somebody else. And so understand that you're not only teaching your good habits, you're teaching your bad habits as well.
Yeah. It's a character building model.
It is. It is. And that's why it just jumped into my head because of the volunteering. You know, we've done food drives with them.
And bell ringing. And
bell ringing is, you know, we do it for Realtor Ring Day. But the Salvation Army needs bell ringers every winter.
Yeah.
They're in front of
December.
all these in December, you know, they're in front of all of these different places. And I would say as a family, that is a wonderful activity to do with your
together.
kids.
Yes.
To show them the love of giving and to be able to interact with people and see other people giving.
Yeah. I can't tell you, for both the food drive and the Salvation Army, people that have walked up, people that just don't have much to give, but they say, hey, this organization helped me when I was down, so I want to give back. And they share that with you as you're right there helping the organization collect money, you know,
Right.
to be able to see firsthand just really makes a difference. And our kids have had so much fun, you know, in their teen years. Once or twice, they even signed up to do some bell ringing on their own with their friends.
Yes.
And that's what it's about.
Well,
you know,
I remember
good values.
a couple years ago. So we were volunteering bell ringing at Walmart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got there and we had us and our 2 teenage sons with us,
me.
and we were at one entrance, and the other entrance, the people didn't show up.
Yeah.
So our 2 teenage sons were like, hey, we're going to go do the other entrance, right?
Yeah.
So they go down to the other entrance and they have their little speaker, and like we're over here just ringing the bells, and like 100 yards away, they're at the other end, and they got their speaker going, and they're singing Christmas carols, and they're having a party down at the other end.
Yeah. Yeah. And spreading, you know, the holiday cheer and so
Yes.
forth. And that's what it's about. But they didn't do it just to, out of a sense of obligation or anything like that. Like, they learned to love helping people themselves.
Right.
And that started by us doing it with them when they were young.
Well, yeah, and the point I think is it made them comfortable with it. They were able to go do that. They didn't have to stand next to us.
Yes.
Right? I know we're going long, but I saw on the bottom here something that I want to make sure you're able to talk about and have enough time to talk about.
Okay.
And I want you to hit on that last bullet there, because that was originally your idea.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something that our people should hear about that's impactful.
In terms of thinking ahead for the teen years? Or
No, the one just above that.
Okay. All right. So I don't know where I came up with it, but I kind of came up with this idea, especially at the point where you have multiple kids. Sometimes the kids start feeling it's hard as you have a new baby, older kid, feeling a little bit neglected, sharing that type of thing. So we kind of came up with this idea of making sure to give each child a little bit of their own time, right? And I've known people over the years where the husband traveled for business and wasn't around a lot. So every Friday morning, he took a different kid out to breakfast in the morning before school. And that was their one-on-one time. So it was a one-on-one time with dad in that case. We have another client who has twins, and she takes a day, I don't know how often, but takes a day to spend with one of those children, right? And then, next time the other one. But so that way you get one-on-one time with kids, because as a family, it's important to spend time together. Everybody's a family, but to have that one-on-one is huge. And so what we did is when our oldest turned 10, we surprised him with a special day. It was fun. We took him out to East Lansing, and he was, we took him out golfing. We went and saw a movie, and then ended up having tickets to see Jerry Seinfeld, because he was really into comedy and comedians. And And I had looked up, and Jerry Seinfeld actually is very clean. He doesn't swear.
He does not. It's a clean act.
So then I felt good to have a 10-year-old there and not worry about it because he's making jokes about Pop-Tarts. It was really a great experience. So, and then it was just a surprise thing. It wasn't for his 10th birthday or anything like that. It was just randomly like, hey, we're going to take all day here, just Dad and I, and we're going to pour into you. And I know you have a little brother, and I know you have a little sister, and I know that you do a lot, but this is your day.
Right. And it was tailored to his interests.
Right. Exactly.
Which is the biggest thing. It's not about us. It's about what they want.
Right. Makes a big difference. And then, of course, the other public service announcement there is never do for one child what you aren't prepared to do for all of them. Yes. So then poor Colin, second kid coming along, 10 came, 10 left. He turned 11. I was like, oh, well, looks like maybe you're getting an 11 day, right? And so it was just before he was about to turn 12. And I remember it was February of 2020. And we didn't know what was coming, but we took him out. And I think that was more like in Detroit. And, but anyway, so we had a special day that was all about him, and it was certainly when he least expected it, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's a surprise.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it this way, but we did it as a surprise where you wake up in the morning and they don't know when it's coming. And the interesting thing is, for the first one, had no idea that this existed, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a true surprise,
no expectations. Right? That was perfect.
The second one had a little bit of an expectation, and oh boy, the third one.
Oh, yeah.
Because now you have the 10-day and the 11-day, and the third one is like 9 years old to be like, okay, when is this coming?
Yeah, exactly. And that turned into the 12-day.
Yes.
But it worked out okay. Because the point was that we did it, and we made like a whole special day out of it. And again, that we spent time with them, pouring into them for things that they liked, they were interested in, and just building some memories with
that one individually. Yeah. Because if you have multiple kids, so often it's
easy to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, and it's time together. And time together as a family is really important.
Yes,
right?
It is.
And time together as siblings is really important.
Yeah.
But acknowledging them as an individual and
at a young age and showing them that is important as well. That's something that gets missed.
Yeah.
The other stuff we all know and understand, and we do.
Right.
But that one-on-one time, fantastic. Definitely very, very important. So, yeah. So, but just a couple other shout outs. Halloween events. There's so many great Halloween events in the Halloween neighborhoods. Boy, don't miss out the fun there.
Let them trick or treat as long as they want. We get teenagers in high school trick or treating, and if they're coming up and they have any semblance of a costume or they're even doing it, I am happy to give them candy because they could be off seeking trouble anyway.
Worse things a teenager could be doing than wanting free candy.
Yes. But
usually they're some of the most polite kids.
They are, but there's so many great events. The trunk or treats are great. I know we had a wonderful time down in downtown Howell and in Brighton where you would shop store to store and get candy out in front of each one.
Every year there's all kinds of cool ones. So 4th of July Parade in Brighton, that's another fantastic one. So that was all good. And then the last thing that I really wanted to touch on is, and I had mentioned it earlier, is in terms of the teen years of the more prepared you can be. And so that's like being involved, getting to know people. That's all good. Just one little, again, a lot of public service announcements, I guess. When I was going to buy a car and the kids were, again, younger, right? I needed a car for me. They're so young, they're not going to be driving anytime soon. But you know what? I knew someday that was coming. So the car that I picked was not nearly as nice as maybe I might have wanted or could have afforded or whatnot. But the car I picked had it in mind of someday I'm going to have a teenage driver. And is this a good car to pass down to them? And boy, was I glad that I did that, because I've had so many friends have a heck of a time trying to find a vehicle for their kid. And the fact that we thought ahead.
You prepped for that
years in advance.
Years in advance, right? That hey, this is the car, and it's going to be paid off, and it's going to be at the right time, and let's pick this with the knowledge that this is going to be the car that they're probably learning how to drive in, and that they're driving. Yeah. Right? So It was really good.
So, So that was something that really helped. But in terms of, just think ahead in terms of the friends. If the friend that they're hanging out with in elementary school doesn't seem to be a good influence, or long term maybe isn't somebody that you want in their life, maybe don't encourage a lot of play dates. Encourage play dates of some of the kids.
And one of the things I would say when you're talking about play dates and everything, so this is a PSA both as a parent and as a realtor, if I put my realtor hat on for a second, there is an amazing benefit to being the house that your son or daughter's friends want to come to.
Yeah.
Right? Having it be the place where you get to, I don't want to say control the environment, but you get to know the environment, know what's going on.
And get to know those kids as they're older, as teenagers.
Right. Yeah. So having the sleepovers at your house, as much as you don't get to sleep, there's a great benefit both in knowing what's going on, getting to know the other kids, getting to hear what's going on, but just being able to, in a step back portion of it, be a part of those memories.
Yeah.
Get to see that interaction, because wow, the difference of seeing your child with friends versus on their own and seeing how that all happens.
Mm-hmm.
There's
because sometimes those personalities change a little bit, and for you to be able to be there for your child, it helps to know their friends, because their friends are such a big part of their lives.
It is, and
to know what's going on,
and understanding that they are a big part of their lives.
Yeah, and respecting that.
Listening.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. But even in terms of rules, definitely know the rules. Make sure the kids know the rules before there's opportunities for them to end up breaking it, or I didn't know. Certainly some of that, curfews, and
we were all kids, right?
We were, but communicating is probably one of the best bets, and everything. And there's so many great things to do. There's parents I do see on some of these parent boards, certainly get involved and sign up for some of those, but where people will put on good things of like, this kid did such a great thing today, and I wanted whoever their parent was to know that, or boy, this kid, but
and I would say it's so different nowadays, but we've put a limit on the social media for our kids before, and surprisingly, again, the middle child, when we took he learned and took the limit off, like he's come to me a few times to be like, hey, could you put the limit back on that, because I'm using this a little bit too much and I want that barrier. So not only did he understand the rules at the beginning, he understood the benefit personally of some of the rules.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just, you put some trust into your kids and it'll go a long way and they'll surprise you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much fun for raising kids, and each stage is so special. And I know everybody's taking the photos and the video, and, but definitely make sure that you're engaged and you're living those moments too. But also remember that some of those good little nuggets, boy, the kids love for you to pull out pictures from when they're really little, or videos.
Right.
And having those pop up on social media are really wonderful too. So there's a balance.
And one of the things that me and you do when we're at these events, we'll ask each other of like, okay, are you recording this song or are you watching this song? So one of us is, we don't have our phones out, right? Yeah. One of us is
we take turns.
So we're both engaging.
Yeah.
Instead of like making sure to videotape it, right?
Right. And sometimes we don't videotape it. We say, you know what? I think that's getting taped by X, Y, or Z. We're just going to really cheer on and focus, because some of those, some of those moments are just so fast. Like it doesn't take long, even in terms of singing a song or a dance number, and 5 minutes and they're done. It just, you have to really focus in and be proud, because these kids are doing wonderful things.
Yeah. Show up.
Yes. Show up.
Yes.
So great. Well, I hope that everybody has gotten a little something out of this, or if it's made you think and realize.
Yeah. And just realize that Livingston County, southeastern Michigan, has so many amazing resources. And there are so many great things to be able to do with your kids, to be able to do as a family, to be able to do as an individual, both for fun or educational. But when you're talking about with your kids, the benefits of all these different things that the community has for you.
Some of those free concerts.
Some of the free concerts downtown, or just outside of the county. We went to the Ann Arbor Children's Science Center, right? A number of times. They're
Hands-on museum.
The hands-on museum, yes. So there are so many great things out there and so many resources to just pour into your kid, and all those opportunities at education for fun between the ages of 2 and 5 are extremely impactful later in life. So pour into as many of those things as you can.
Kensington Metro Park, a lot of activities there. We used to always, every year, go to a symphony concert, even when the children were babies.
Yeah, the DSO puts on a concert down there.
Yeah,
and I think it's the Michigan Symphony Orchestra now that does it. Yeah. But usually there's one free concert a year there, and just amazing opportunities. The petting zoo there is great.
Right, yeah, but do something different. Honest to goodness, don't just keep going through the motions doing all the same things, because the kids remember and you remember, and to have those memories are what it's all about. And Livingston County has so much to offer for that.
Yep. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for listening today. We really appreciate it. We went a little bit long, but it's obviously a topic that we could talk on all day long. So thanks. Please check out our other episodes and come back for our next one, right?
Yeah. Thanks so much.
And
welcome to Livingston.